Hello, everyone. This is Dave Goulas, president of Easy DC 3PL, and thank you for tuning in to the Beyond Fulfillment podcast, where we spotlight small business owners, entrepreneurs, startup founders, and we have real conversations about their journey, what it's really like, and what they've learned along the way. Thank you and enjoy the show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Beyond Fulfillment podcast. I'm your host, Dave Goulas with Easy DC 3PL. And this is our very first guest on this new podcast. And I'd like to welcome Matt Fain, the co-founder and CEO of PopCapacity. Welcome,
Hello,
Matt.
everyone. Great to
How
be
you
here
doing
today. Thanks for inviting me. I'm really excited about what you're doing here, and honored to be the first guest on your show.
Yeah, awesome. And then when I first put out the announcement, it's funny. I had this idea. It popped in my head the morning of our marketing meeting. So I asked my team, I said, hey, I'm thinking about doing this podcast. What do you think? And they said, hey, that's a great idea. And I said, well, let's just put it on an announcement right away because I have no idea how I'm going to get guests and whatever. And before we'd done anything, we put the announcement out and got a lot of positive reception. Few people hit me up, want to be on it. And I just said, well, let's just do it. So here we are. So we are in full effect with the podcast. So Matt, if you could, can you just kind of talk about what PopCapacity is and how you got here?
Yeah, so my name is Matt Fain. I'm the co-founder and CEO of PopCapacity here in Atlanta, Georgia. So we're a pandemic-born bootstrap startup. What we created is the first true digital marketplace for 3PL warehouse space. Dave, you can relate to that. Yes, it's like an Airbnb for warehouses. We use a lot of data, AI, virtual touring for visibility. We're a visibility platform at our core, offering brands, shippers a digital modern way to find really amazing 3PLs like you.
Awesome. Yeah, and I went back and checked because you were one of the very first people in this industry that I connected with and got to know. And I come from the pharmaceutical industry, been doing that a long time. And so when we're not even open yet, we were about to open. And I started thinking, well, how are we going to get leads? How are we going to get customers? And I was used to the model from pharma that there's these platforms that connect buyers and sellers and aggregate all the suppliers in the given industry. So I was like, there's got to be something in the warehousing space like that exact same thing. And you were like literally one of the, or maybe the very first person I found. But like you're saying, you're building this, but it's not something that's common to the industry like in other industries, like we have in pharma or like I've seen in insurance or other the industry seems a lot more fragmented overall as far as the different space available.
It is, and I think that's fairly traditional for supply chain, right? We've kind of lagged behind with the digital movement. It's accelerated quickly over the past, let's just say 5 to 10 years, right? All sorts of different modes and nodes are adopting different technologies in different ways. And I think now it's becoming more natural. You have to have it or you get phased out. I think we've seen some legacy companies that didn't make the evolution or revolution into the digital era, and they ended up getting phased out. So, yeah, I think you hit it right on the head. We see it in every single market, a marketplace style technology from food, shoes, to pharmaceuticals and B2B activity. Like there's a marketplace for everything. There just wasn't one to find 3PL fulfillment centers and warehouses.
And you have I listened to you tell the story before, but could you just give our audience, you had a kind of an epiphany when you were in a different business about someone who was looking for warehouse space and that's what gave you the idea to start PopCapacity. Could you just tell us that story?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so I cut my teeth in supply chain logistics management as a 3PL brokerage. So I owned a franchise called Blue Grace Logistics, which was a traditional LTL full truckload transportation brokerage. We focus highly on like customer retention, getting sticky with the customers, not necessarily just dialing for dollars. It was a model of how can we create a partnership, right? Less transactional, more partnership driven. I then sold that franchise location back to the franchisor and started my own trucking, asset-based trucking company called Go Expedite. We were focused on time critical, expedited type freight. It was in the name. We weren't the cheapest one in town, but we guaranteed every load, and we had 100% on time delivery. And that was our goal, right? That was a mission coming from the brokerage world and kind of seeing how that worked. And don't get me wrong, I love my brokers. There's a huge need for them out there. But I want to see what it was like on the asset-based side, and right, and control my own destiny. And when I tell a client or a shipper that, hey, it's guaranteed 2-day, it is guaranteed 2-day, and my name's behind it. So we did that for a little bit. I quickly realized that I wasn't a driver. I had 2 young kids. Being on the road days at a time on an overnight team drive was just not ideal for the situation I was in. But it did give me a lot of time to think. It gave me a lot of time to think and just what I wanted to do with the remainder of my career. Do I jump back into brokerage? And a client of ours, a large social media company, probably the largest social media company, we were hauling freight for them, doing time critical data center type activities. They called us for warehouse space. I immediately said, we're not a warehouse broker, right? I've probably got a warehouse network of just through my experience in the industry, but I mean, I'm happy to refer them to you. As a small business, as a startup in the trucking world, right? Cash flow is everything. I quickly looked at my checkbook, was like, oh, maybe we should broker some warehouse space. So I took that task on. My resources were Google, commercial real estate brokers. There was not a good, solid resource like finding a vacation rental on an Airbnb, right? Or ordering something through a DoorDash. I didn't have options. I didn't have something to navigate me there through a technology. And that was the epiphany moment, right? Me struggling and challenged with finding 80,000 square foot in North Nashville, Tennessee. You type that into Google right now, even to date, and you don't find a 3PL warehouse. Any way you put it, you don't find a 3PL. Second page in, you'll find a 4PL. You'll find a 5PL. That's right. You'll find folks that are focused on WMSs and have a network of 3PLs. But you have to use the WMS. There's a lot of solutions out there. Don't get me wrong, they're all valuable in their own little way. But there wasn't that natural self-use, self-guided visibility platform like a marketplace for 3PLs. So that's where our journey started.
Okay. Now, also, up until then, your business career was in supply chain specifically with the asset-based trucking and all that. And now you have this idea, and it's a phenomenal idea, right? We all get ideas, but the execution is everything. So what was it like when you've been in like the asset side of it to say, okay, now we have this great vision, we're going to start a tech company?
It took a lot of convincing. I think when you start anything, you convince like yourself and then the people around you, friends and family, to get their buy-in and get them amped up on the idea. And look, I've had several ideas throughout the course of time, right? From like mobile sports apps to, trucking companies. It's in my blood, So convincing the people and that this is what's going to happen and this is how it's going to work was easy. But getting it started is pretty hard, right? Where do you get the capital? Where do you get the developers? Where do you get the talent and people that see the vision? Luckily for me, I had a co-founder who, and I would make that suggestion to anybody out there. It is super duper hard to be a solo founder, right? There's so many different tasks and so many different things you have to do to make revenue, to build, a sustainable company, to build out SOPs and stuff like that. And it's hard. So I was blessed to have a co-founder, Derek Loftus, to kind of share that with me. So that would be my first like little bit of wisdom is like, if you are thinking about doing this solo, great. I love the idea, but find someone else who shares that same passion and vision because it could make the journey a whole lot easier.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. I have a co-founder too, and it's like the same thing because we all have our strengths and we all have our weaknesses. And sometimes too, right, I'll be dealing with a situation and I'll be like stuck and I'll run it by him and he'll have a totally different perspective and like the answer will come out of that conversation. And it's just like you said, it's so hard trying to do it all by yourself because the solid team is just critical when you're trying to get everything off the ground.
Yep. Yep, for sure. And have a clear passion and vision, right? What you want to do and the why behind it. I think a lot of companies start off with like, okay, I can really make a lot of money doing this, right? And the intention there is to make money. We all want to make money. We all know how to make money, I think, right? But when you start wanting to back it with some purpose, right? And create some sort of change or whatever it is that you want to do, but there's a passion other than just profit, you start thinking differently, right? You start reviewing your team members differently and who you want to bring in to scale to the next level. Like what are the traits and attributes that they have? Yes, you need that A1 money guy, right? Who's focused on sales and how to get that money, but he also needs to share the passion, the vision of like, what is the true purpose here? Like our purpose is just create change, like understanding that procurement in a digital way can happen in supply chain, right? It doesn't require a person and people. We'll never take the people out of supply chain, don't get me wrong, but we can influence them and make things easily accessible for them to make better business decisions for sure.
Yeah, yeah, 100% agree. One of the things too you touched on is having a greater vision and a purpose for the business. So, because I think I heard you here in another interview talk about where you've been offered some investment and you declined, and you like talk about what that's like, because like you said, you're a bootstrap startup, right? You have a family, you got to get revenue, pay the bills, grow the business, and I'm sure, right, someone comes at you with some money for a piece of the company and it's tempting, right? So what's it been like, because you've stayed true to your vision and true to like the core purpose of something bit and taken the longer road? Like how hard is that in the course of day-to-day life?
It's tough. I mean, if you look at other startups in our space, they take the money. They take the money, they build out a team of hundreds of people and have a development team of hundreds and really focus on, what the passion is. I think that passion starts to evolve as the amount of money you take in, there's an expectation to get that money back 100x, right? I mean, that's the expectation. It is an investment to make more money. So it starts beginning to be more profit driven, right? It starts to begin to be like, okay, well, how can we extrapolate every bit of margin and profit to accommodate our investors, right? Which is not a bad philosophy. That's what everybody wants to do. If you want to become a billion-dollar unicorn, then that's probably a good philosophy. But if the goal and the intention is to create change and you understand and convince yourself immediately, it's not all about the money. Like I said before, we all can make money. We all can make a great living. I think we've been in business long enough and we've experienced enough to go out and make a good living for our families. It's like finding that happy medium. How can I make a good living for my family and still be patient enough to know that there's something bigger we're going for, right? It's not easy. Someone floats out $2, $4, $10 million in front of you, and you know what you can do with that, right? It's hard. It's tempting. It makes for good PR too, right?
Yeah.
But the reality is, what do you have to give up for that amount of money, right? What are you sacrificing? And do you truly believe that you can get from A to Z, maybe slower, indefinitely slower, right?
Right.
But can you maintain the goal and can you continue your vision by bootstrapping it? And look, the investment community and environment, like we're in a recession, call it what you want to. We're in a recession right now. There's been some great successes in supply chain investments, and there've been some massive failures. So I think the investment community in general is learning from some of the mistakes that they made in the past. Probably gonna get crucified for saying this, but they're smart. Valuations are softer, so it makes a little bit more sense. It pushes us over the line of being more bootstrapped and just maintaining the goal. We're profitable, right? I could go out and take on money and hire 100 people, and we could be, everyone would know Pop on it because they're getting a phone call from everybody. I love the fact that people are finding out about Pop through word of mouth, through referrals, organic. That means it's working without it being force fed into the ecosystem.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And like you said, it's so much tougher to take the longer, harder road, right, and do it organically. But I gotta imagine it's so much more rewarding when you have something that you've built, it like came out of literally a conversation, an epiphany moment, and you turned it into something tangible and you built it the hard way. I mean, that's got to be rewarding.
Most days it is. Some days I think, man, I should have taken that cash, right? But the majority of the time, it does feel really great because it's just, you're building it with your own two hands, right? It's like watching your house being built by a contractor. or are you envisioning it and doing it yourself? Yes, it's going to be a little bit harder, but man, afterwards, you're going to understand every little nail, every little trim piece that got put in because you did it, right? You didn't watch someone else build it for you. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And now you've been an entrepreneur for several years now, right? When did
yeah.
you initially go on that path?
I mean, I guess you can say 2011 when I started the franchise with Blue Grace. And look, it was turnkey, ready to go. I actually started out as a worldwide express agent before becoming a Blue Grace franchise owner. But that, I guess, that was my first stab at it. Like true, I was the kid in middle school peddling candy for money too, right? So I guess technically you could date it back then, but like truly it was starting out in 2011 and then branching out on my own and doing the courier expedited type service. So
Okay.
2011.
Okay. So clearly, right, you know the journey. You're over a decade in, and like you said, some days you wish you maybe you should have took the money, right? Like that's one thing too, where I think maybe there's a misconception with people like, it's great to be in business and have freedom and have all these other things, but man, when things go wrong, it's tough. And I think all of us, you sales guys and high achievers, right? You have that internal battle where you got to keep pressing forward and you have to continue on. And you don't, if you don't, you get to eat what you kill, right? But how do you deal with those tough times with disappointments and kind of that internal battle? Things aren't going right.
I mean, in the beginning, not very well, right? You're super stressed out. You're angry at the world. You think you're doing everything wrong, and everybody around you feels it, especially your family, right? Especially since you convince them that this is a great idea and we're gonna, this is gonna what sets us up. This is, what's gonna set our kids up and all the good stuff. And then you have a bad day. And I tell my team every day, the expectation is not have a good day every day. Right? You don't have to have a good day every day. Set a personal goal, set a business goal. As long as you achieve that personal goal, that makes you feel good at the end of the day. The business goal, that's great. Like everybody has to have something they're chasing on that daily basis, or a process or a checklist, however you want to do it. But not every day is going to be positive. And I learn way more from the bad days than I do from the good days. 1000%. So it's like this inevitable. There's no way of getting around it. You're going to take the L's, take them and learn from them, right? Every single L you get is a chance for you to be better that next day. And guess what? You know how to deal with that situation now.
Yeah, yeah, and no one wants to take the L's, right? Like they're not fun. It's and especially like like I get excited about opportunity, and so many times it's like, oh man, look what we got. We're gonna land this, and it doesn't work, or you fall on your face, and you think it's gonna be great, and you lose, right? And it's just you got to get up and keep going. But I think, like you said too, you learn so much more. And then again, right, when you get through those tough times, you realize when another one comes up, hey, I've been here before. It's not the end of the world. And obviously, you've learned from the prior experience, so maybe you can handle that differently or not. Not make the same mistake that might have cost you the first time.
Right. And guess what? You might make that same mistake again, right? Just in a different scenario. Mask is a different issue, but it might be the same exact mistake. But you live and you learn, right? And you realize that you did get through that and you were able to get to the next day. And it wasn't as bad as you thought it was. Right. In the moment, it's always the world's on fire, right? What am I going to do? How am I going to deal with this? We've never dealt this with this. Well, put your big boy pants on and figure it out, right? You've gotten this far. So,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Now, also too, I noticed like in your prior work history too, you were always a sales guy starting out, right? You had career early on in sales.
yep. Yep. I actually started sales like doing wholesale distribution. So, like, I sold electrical distribution equipment to Kia and Hyundai. And that's kind of really what set me up to understand that I love sales. I love the art of selling, right? It's not just picking up the phone and calling people and selling them a widget. Like it's beyond that. It's understanding like buying signals and having emotional intelligence and understanding how to read a room and doing all the different things that makes it cool. Kind of like a psychologist, right? When you're in sales, you're really good salespeople are really tuning in to the person. Like, and what are some things that are going to allow them to buy? And what are some triggers that are giving me signals that they want to buy? And how do I sell to them? Right? What is their personality? Is this a very formal, buttoned up, got to button my collar up and present? Or is this a guy's very casual and you can talk to him like you're talking to your buddy on the golf course? And he relates better that way. So I've always been in sales. I love sales. I fell into the art of sales by, starting in electrical distribution and then getting in and selling for, Blue Grace. Was that first like door-to-door sales guy, right? And that is what really you start understanding what real sales is when you're knocking on a door cold and walking into a business cold and saying, hey, I'm Matt, I have something to sell you. And you get turned around and say, no, dude, read the notes. What are you doing here? I don't know you. I got a lot of L's during that time. So that probably prepared me for the entrepreneur small business side of it, honestly, with sales.
Yeah, yeah, so true. And that's about as tough as it gets, like door to door outside sales. And that's like typically straight commission, right? So yeah, that's excellent training. And it's funny too, because I've been in sales my whole career, managed sales teams for a long time. And the one thing I've noticed too about salespeople in general is they're the most pro customer people there are. They always want to take care of the customer, right? Because that's their commission, right? They're always, so I've noticed that it's such a great start to be in sales for the entrepreneurial journey too, because like you mentioned too with Pop, like your focus is to serve the customer and the customer experience, and that's everything. So I mean, talk about how important that's been for your current business thus far.
It's been everything, right? Our sales philosophy in turn turned into like kind of our product roadmap, right? Taking some of the similar things that we want from a sales process and from getting new customers and applying that to the product development. Like, okay, what is the customer going to need? How's the customer going to need it? It's been super important. I mean, we've always, and even going back to, my 3PL days, like we were never the dialing for dollars type model. We were never the company that was going to make 100 phone calls a day and ask for that next load or freight lane, right? It wasn't that. It was, tell me what you're challenged with. And then I'm going to shut my mouth. I'm going to listen a little bit. And if there's an opportunity to buy and sell you something, cool. If not, I'm going to backpedal. I'm going to tell you to have a great day and I'll be back again. Right. And so just, kind of understanding that. And that's been our philosophy here is like, we're not telling anybody that they have to buy and procure the warehouses that we have available in our marketplace. It's there when you need it. Right. This entire network of 115 million square foot of amazing capacity solutions are there when you need it. It's not a hard sell. And what we're finding out is that dang near everybody needs it. Right. I personally feel like warehousing is the backbone of the supply chain. There's not a product that's sitting in your office, in my office, that hasn't been in a warehouse already. Right.
Yeah.
So it's just, understanding and figuring out as you grow to always adapt to the customer because their needs going to change. What they needed back in 2020 is wildly different than what they need here in 2023. Right.
Yeah.
And that,
Yeah. 100%.
I feel like that business philosophy was received by sales or was, derived from the sales side of it.
Okay. Okay. So now what's your long-term vision for Pop as far as like you've built it, you've grown, right? You're profitable, but like looking out like 5 years, let's say, what's your vision for where Pop's going to be?
Oh man, in 5 years, we'll have every 3PL in the United States in the marketplace, all showcased. We'll be in over a dozen continents. Right now, we're in 5. So we'll be in over a dozen, and we'll be the natural go-to for warehouse procurement, right? There should be no question as to, hey, if someone asks, where do I go find warehouse space? It's Pop It, right? You don't go Google it now. It is Pop It for that type of search. And then we're constantly evolving, right? Much like the sales process and understanding and listening to our customers. We've listened to our customers, both 3PLs and brands, and we're evolving. So we've got version 3 of the marketplace that'll be released in Q1 of next year. That's going to basically aggregate all the information, data that we have within our marketplace and put it out into insightful reports and information that both shippers and brands and 3PLs can get into. So if you're a brand looking to go to Houston, Texas, right? Don't know why you're going to Houston, Texas, but if you're a food grade fulfillment company looking for capacity in Houston, Texas, I can quickly tell you, pivot to Austin, right? Houston is controlled by the pipe, valve, and fitting oil industry. Food grade, temp controlled space is slim to none. And if you find it, it's going to be more expensive. That's something as a brand, I don't know why you picked that location. It may have been based on historical data. It may have been based on where you were before, or maybe there's a relationship there, but there's information out there that can direct you and say that maybe that's not the distribution point. Maybe you need to be in Louisville. Maybe you need to be in other areas within the United States because the data tells it to you. We're also going to be showcasing a lot of cool partnerships. So from a 3PL perspective, we have opportunities to get into automation, robotics, key integrations, and a Shopify and SAP. We've got opportunities for you to tap into some final mile through gig networks. And on the brand side, very similar, right? We have all these really unique best in breed solutions that we went and partnered with, from commercial real estate to final mile to drop yard and yard management tools and technology. It's going to be really cool to see how we've evolved and what the experience is going to be like come Q1 of next year.
Okay. Wow, that's exciting. So you touched on a couple things there too. One of them was like the different strategic partnerships that you have, where I've seen some of them announced already, and the stuff you have coming. Like for someone that's just getting started or running a startup, just talk about how important networking and these different strategic partnerships are to a growing brand.
It's the one to many approach, right? That one person, you want that one person to be able to introduce you to 10, right? So it's like, and you can't get to that one person unless you start networking, right? A lot of my success is the people that I'm connected to. I know a lot of really amazing supply chain professionals that may not need my services now, but they know somebody who does, right? And if you start creating a trusted network, opportunities start coming in, right? In all different ways, shapes, and forms, right? And that's why we created the marketplace the way it is. Like, it's super agnostic. We could take in 3PL broker opportunities. We could take in customer direct opportunities. We can take in 3PL referred opportunities, both big, small, little, it doesn't matter. But I feel like when you're starting out, you're going to want to do everything you possibly can to survive, right? So you're going to waver on costs, you're going to waver on services, you're going to do things that you wouldn't typically do, but do it, because eventually you do start standardizing things. You do start figuring out like good structure and ways to go about things.
Yeah, for sure. And I remember when we started out, I was like trying everything, right? Because I didn't know. And you taught, and I think like I even said when I filmed the intro to this, like my biggest source of learning is just meeting other people, whether on Zoom or in person, and talking to them and hearing their stories too. And just like you mentioned too, with the food going from Houston to Austin, right? Like if you're not deeply involved in that, how would you know other than talking to someone that has that expertise? So that's why I find my network's been invaluable with how far we've come, initially. But talk about the other part too, where you don't know what to do, but you're going to try a bunch of stuff, and just the willingness to fail and make mistakes and fall on your face and not even, I'm at the point where I feel like I'm numb to it. Like, listen, this might be a total disaster, but we're going to try it and we may just make it work. Right. So that's kind of how I approach things. Talk about how that's been for you.
I don't know if I don't think we've ever thought we were going to fail. I think we thought that there were delaying moments of what we wanted to accomplish. And I think most people who truly believe in what they're doing, right, don't believe they're going to fail, just don't believe they're going to achieve their goal as fast as they want to. Once again, those failures are just challenges. And regardless, if you work for someone, you're going to have challenges, right? If you're a senior sales director and you have a VP to call to, guess what? There's going to be challenges to get to your number. There's going to be challenges to motivate your sales team to get there. The only difference is your challenges are, and the way that you solve them are then given to someone else. When you're faced with those challenges, you're doing it for you and your team and your business. So they're just a little bit more important. I don't think that if anybody who's going to start a business and really start a business, something outside of just making lots of money, you better anticipate on those moments of, I don't know if this is going to work and within a time frame that I think it is, and fall back and punt. Maybe level set your mind. Maybe reduce the expectation to be $1 billion company in 24 months. We did, right? Sometimes your passion can cloud reality a bit, right? I guarantee you, Apple, Microsoft, they all knew that they were going to be $1 billion. Like, I just watched BlackBerry, the story on the BlackBerry phones. They all knew they were going to be a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate, and they thought they were going to do it like that. As soon as they got an investment, they thought it was going to be overnight. Well, guess what? It wasn't overnight. There were several moments where they thought they were going to fail, and there's occasions that they did fail. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, right? But man, I think you anticipate it. You anticipate it, and you know that your passion, your perseverance, your purpose is going to push you through it.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And like you said too, right? We all have this idea. We all think it's going to be successful. We all want it way quicker than reality actually is. And the way I deal with it too is just like, of course, we have goals. We all want money and, you know, a lot of things, the success and everything that comes with it. But I always look at the journey, because some of, like, for me, the best moments are when you were tough, you were faced with a tough challenge and you had to stretch yourself and it didn't look good. It looked like you might not make it, but you went as hard as you could and you found a way and you made it, right? When you look back on that, that's like priceless.
It's
I mean, is
priceless.
that
It's priceless. It's just like a notch on your belt, you know? You've been there, you've done that, you weathered the storm, you can talk about it. You can talk about it, other people. So then maybe they don't incur that issue, right? There's thousands of people out there that are in our same shoes that just don't have the network, like you alluded to talk to about it, right? There are some monumental people that I talked to prior to even starting Pop that allowed me to understand like how to price things, what it was going to be like in a SaaS world versus an asset-based trucking company, right? What's your fundraising efforts? Are you going to go fundraise? When do you bootstrap? How do you bootstrap? All those things. And it all came from a network of good people, you know? So we're excited about the future. I'm excited about the future of the industry. I think this industry is going through a rehaul right now, right? And I say this to a lot of people, right? 2020, we made a lot of reactive decisions. 2023, we have a lot of data to make smart decisions, right? It wasn't just who had the space at whatever rate and let's get it. Now you have the data to understand all the things, and you start really etching in good partnerships, right? So super excited about the future and, like, you know, what's to come within the next 10 years, both with Pop and the industry.
Yeah, yeah, 100%, right? And all the stats show, and you can even just see the way the world is becoming more complex too, right? The shipping, the e-commerce, right? All that, you know, and you have kids, I have kids, right? Time, right? And that's another thing I want to touch at. So being an entrepreneur, right? I'm sure you work all the time, all hours, day or night, right? Like you're always thinking about your business. So how is that balancing like the family life with the wife and the kids at home, and kind of what your time that they want and what the business demands?
It's challenging. I mean, it's not easy. And I think that's part of the convincing that you do on the front side, right? Allowing that your close family, my kids and my wife, to understand that, you know, that's not always going to be home, but we'll be there for the really important stuff, you know. And it kills me and to leave and pack the bags and go for a couple of days, but understand it's all for the greater good, right? I'm doing this ultimately for them, and they know that. They know that I don't want to be on the road. They know that I would prefer to be sitting on my couch watching a movie and popcorn. But they also know that I'm passionate about this and that I'm doing it for them, you know? So it's part of that. It's kind of like anticipating the losses, anticipating the failures. It's all part of it, right? You have to let the people close around you understand that it's going to be challenging, but it's not going to be forever, right? It's not forever. right? And you see now, I just made a post earlier last week, right? I was able to bring my kids to a work event. You know, it was a quasi work business leisure trip in New York City, and my
Wow.
kids love it, right? It's so awesome. Like, you know, I talk about the local community and you know, you got to get the buy-in for everybody, but like I'll go down to my neighborhood pool here or go to the, you know, the city center where we live. There's PopCapacity shirts from all the kids are wearing it. It's just like, it's really cool to see, you know?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And like to the point where like my kids feel like they're a part of the journey too, you know? So when I'm gone, they know that, okay, dad's gone. This is part of the journey. And I feel like, I don't know, I feel like they feel like they're involved in it, right? And I share enough information with them and the local community to know, like, I don't know, it's hard, but we're gonna get through it and doing it for them.
It's such a great example too. Like you said, right? The kids are wearing the shirts and they're supporting you at that. Like you said, it's I like how you can set an example. Like, listen, I'm going for it. This is a vision I have. We're making this work. We're sticking together as a family. I'm out here doing what I got to do on the road to build this company. And they see that, right? And then they're supporting it. And I think that's such a great because kids don't listen to what you say, they watch what you do, right? And that's such a great, for when they get older and maybe they want to start their own business, but there's some anxiety there. Well, my dad did it, right?
Yep.
Like that's such a great example to set.
Yeah. And those are the benefits outside of money, right? Those are the things that you start seeing that you're like, wow, I influenced a kid to start a lemonade stand, right? And he did it in a pop shirt. And this is awesome. Well, that's the start of an entrepreneur. That's the start of
Yeah.
someone getting outside their box and saying, you know what, I might not sell a cup of lemonade, but I'm gonna get out there and do it. And it's hot. And it costs money to buy the supplies. But you know what? If I do it right, I could make it. PopCapacity did. I mean, if it does if that scenario happened one time, right, that would be amazing, and I'm sure it has. You
Yeah.
know, so there's something about entrepreneurs, you know, it's super scary, super treacherous waters. Like, you know, you start looking at other industries outside of supply chain, like restaurant industry. I mean, God forbid the failure rate there is huge,
Yeah.
but you have to have those people. You have to have those dreamers. You have to have the visionaries to create something different. And you have to have the people who are content not being the visionaries and just kind of, you know, wanting to kind of work for an organization and create change. That's all great and good too. But the visionaries created Apple. The visionaries created Microsoft and Amazon and every other cool little widget that we work with, right? And they all thought it wasn't going to work at some point. They all thought no one was going to buy books off a marketplace. Well, guess what that
Right.
book company did, y'all? Right?
Right.
So I always think about it like that, like as silly and as, you know, not comparing ourselves to Amazon, maybe one day, but it all started with the vision. It all started with an idea to make the experience of buying books modern and better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why not
100%.
warehouses, right? Why not all sorts of other services in the chain that is locked behind closed doors that you have to go search and seek for and then, you know, pay more money to find access to. So we'll see.
You touched on another thing there too, as far as like, having a vision and the visionaries driving that, but yet people don't believe, right? And that's one thing we've encountered as a startup is, people are skeptical with, you're brand new, you haven't done this before. I mean, have you to talk about some of that resistance and how you deal with that when people maybe, I don't know, right? It's kind of different. I don't know if that's going to work.
I don't think there's a real, I mean, there's not a strategy to get over it. Like you take it as advice. Like any person that said, like, look, I don't know, you're kind of like this company or you're kind of like this company. I take that information, I digest it, I thank them for their feedback, but we're not like that company. And there's no amount of explanation that I can give someone who's making a comparison to another company. There's no amount of explanation I can give as to why we're not, right? I know why we're different. It's because of the purpose. It's because of the way that we go to market. There's 1,000 different reasons why we're different. But it's like you started it for a reason. right? You had an intention when you started it. Don't let people cloud that initial thought and deter you from it. Stay true to it. Our goal was to create visibility for 3PL warehouses, for both brands to find them and warehouses to just have something better, right? That was the vision. That's it. So for every person that says, oh, well, you can monetize it this way. Oh, well, why don't you just take the warehouses rates and mark it up 20% and resell them? You're working with massive brands. They've got the pockets for it. Well, I could, but that wasn't the vision, right? So
Yeah.
yes, maybe the way I'm monetizing is wrong, right? But I know every single customer that got put into that 3PO, or every 3PO that had a customer come into them, they understood the amount of money we were making. It was fully transparent. And I guarantee you the partnership is way better because there's not financial friction there, right? There's not a risk of the warehouse saying, well, Mr. Customer, I only charge you X amount of dollars a pallet. And the customer saying, wait, what? Pop charges me this. Now you have friction. That's unnecessary friction, all driven by money. Not by purpose. It was by money. If PopCapacity had a team of people out there brokering warehouses and calling warehouses all over the country and doing it manually, yes, I would charge money just like every other traditional 4PL would. Our technology cleaned that up. We're not doing that. Our technology quickly accelerates that process for us. We did all the heavy lifting for the first 24, 36 months of finding you guys, right? Now the technology can do the work and the entire ecosystem can benefit from that because now they don't have to pay someone a premium to go do work that technology can do for them, right?
Yeah.
So,
And that's the good part about technology, right? Is when it can do things quicker, more efficiently, cheaper as things evolve, right? That's how it's supposed to work. And it's supposed to
that's
be
supposed to work. It's not, just like I said earlier, we're never going to replace the people in supply chain. The people are what make this work, but we can give them tools and resources to accelerate them to who they need to be connected with, right? All these senseless conversations for commodities you don't work with or customers you're not engaged with or services you can't handle. Why are you having those conversations when there's 100 other customers out there who are looking exactly what you have, right? And our job is to find that. Like I think I may have said it before, but like we're a firm believer that there's amazing startups and technologies that happen every single day, right? But there's even more amazing technologies that already exist and you just can't find them. There's no one place that you can identify all the cool TMSs, WMSs, integration tools, 3PLs, whatever it may be. There's not one solid source of truth. Our goal is for there to be a source of truth, right? So we'll see. Just keep trugging along,
yeah.
and keep learning every day. That's our goal. My personal goal every day is to learn from anything from the previous day. And if I've learned one thing, then I've achieved my personal goal. So
Yeah. Right. And like, again, coming from sales, like the high achiever mindset, we're always, every single day is an opportunity to get better, to learn something new, to move forward. Right. We're always focused on that. All right. Last question I have for you here today. So what's been the best part of your entrepreneurial journey over the past decade from where you are up to where you are now?
oh man, there's so many good things. The best part about it is, oh gosh, I'd probably say referrals. Like we're referrals and like seeing organic growth, right? Part of our core values are stay authentic, be resourceful, and embrace evolution. Those three things have made us visible organically to people. Like we have people reaching out to us because they enjoy the way that we go to market. They like the fact that we're fully transparent and that we have a purpose and it's not just to make money. So it's really cool. I mean, we're talking about not small companies either, right? We're talking about some of the biggest of the big and them embracing and seeing that like our passion to make change could be impactful to some of their initiatives. It creates trust immediately. I love seeing the trust from the supply chain and from the industry, right? Because that's all I mean, that's what makes this industry work, is trust and partnerships. And I love seeing that we were able to achieve that without any VC dollars, without any, influencing from social media ad buys and from all that stuff. It's been all organic and all authentic. And yeah, that's probably it.
Wow. Yeah, that's powerful. Like you said, it's the longer road, it's the harder road. But when you think about how far you've come and what you've built and where you're going and doing it that way, I mean, priceless. Absolutely priceless.
That's it. That's it.
Okay.
I mean, I wouldn't have it any other way. So
All right. Well, hey, Matt, thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate you being a guest. If people want to get in touch and learn more about Pop Capacity or get in touch with you personally, how can they do that?
yeah, so follow us on any social media. It's just PopCapacity. We're really, really heavy presence on LinkedIn, so follow us there. And if you want to reach out to me for anything, if you're a business owner, if you're thinking about starting a business, if you're in a business now and you're struggling a lot, I'm always happy to chat and grow my network and offer any sort of advice that I can. So you can reach me at matt@popcapacity.com. So super easy.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you again so much, Matt. Appreciate your time. And yep, there you go, Pop Capacity. And that's a wrap for Beyond Fulfillment Podcast. Hello again, Dave Goulas here. Thank you for tuning in to the Beyond Fulfillment Podcast. If you like what you heard on today's episode and you got value from it, please click the link below to subscribe so you'll be notified of future episodes when they drop. If you would like to be a guest on a future show, you can also click the link below, or you can email us at info@beyondfulfillmentpodcast.com. That's info@beyondfulfillmentpodcast.com. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.